Bible holds secrets, ancient, powerful, and strange.
Step into the mystery. Explore the most hidden, powerful, and forgotten passages of the Bible tonight. Picture this. You're sitting by a glowing fire beneath a vast canopy of stars. Wrapped in silence, except for the whisper of wind through ancient trees. The scent of time itself lingers in the air. Dry earth, old parchment, and weathered stone. In that stillness, your soul feels the pull of something older than time, something sacred. Welcome to Mr. N Bible, not just a channel, but a sacred gateway into the mysterious heart of Scripture. Tonight, we invite you on an unforgettable journey into the most overlooked, rarely discussed, and deeply enigmatic passages of the Bible. Ancient verses veiled in mystery, tucked away in shadowed corners of holy texts. These aren't the stories you've heard in Sunday school. These are secrets that echo through time, whispered by prophets, buried in clay tablets, and sealed with divine intent. Prepare to be drawn into a world where angels descend, bloodlines carry hidden meanings, and strange prophecies emerge under moonlight. Each tale holds a riddle, a revelation, and perhaps a message meant just for you. So settle in, open your heart, and let the veil be lifted. Because tonight, you don't just read the Bible, you awaken its hidden power. The Bible, a tapestry of history, faith, and mystery, holds within its pages moments that challenge our understanding and spark wonder. Tonight, we'll explore 11 of its strangest passages, each a window into the lives, beliefs, and divine encounters of those who came before us. These stories are not meant to startle or unsettle, but to guide you gently through the rhythm of their world of sacred stones, cryptic writings, and creatures born of divine imagination. So, settle in, let your mind wander, and allow the cadence of these ancient tales to carry you toward rest. Let's begin with our first mystery, the stones that allowed conversations with God. The stones that allow conversations with God, the high priest's world. Picture yourself standing in the heart of ancient Israel, where the sun beats down on a sprawling encampment of tents, their fabric weathered by desert winds. The air carries the scent of burning incense, mingling with the faint bleating of goats and the murmur of a people bound by covenant. At the center of this community stands the tabernacle, its curtains rippling gently, a sacred space where heaven and earth seem to touch. Here, the high priest moves with deliberate grace, his garments heavy with purpose. Over his chest, he wears the breastplate of judgment, a woven masterpiece adorned with 12 gemstones, each glinting in the sunlight, representing the tribes of Israel. But hidden within, close to his heart, are two mysterious objects, the Urim and Thummim. These were no ordinary stones, tucked into a pouch within the breastplate. They were revered as sacred tools, their very names Urim, meaning lights, and Thummim, meaning perfections, whispering of divine clarity. The high priest, chosen to bridge the human and the divine, carried these stones as a constant reminder of his role, to seek God as will in moments of uncertainty. Imagine the weight of this responsibility, the quiet reverence of standing before the people, knowing your questions could shape their fate. The rhythm of their lives pulsed with this trust in divine guidance, a rhythm that steadied their steps through the wilderness. The daily life of the high priest was one of ritual and care. Each morning he would rise before dawn, the air cool and heavy with dew, to prepare offerings at the altar. The scent of roasted grain and olive oil filled the air, a fragrant plea for God's favor. His garments, meticulously crafted, were not mere adornments, but symbols of his sacred duty. The breastplate, with its intricate embroidery and gleaming stones, was a physical burden, its weight a constant reminder of the people he served. As he moved through the tabernacle, the soft clink of golden bells at the hem of his robe echoed in the stillness, a sound that reassured the people he was alive in God's presence. Yet the Urim and Thummim were not used daily. They were reserved for moments when the path forward was unclear, when human wisdom faltered. The priest would stand before the altar, the stones warm against his chest, and pose a question to God, simple, direct, seeking a yes or no. The method of their use remains shrouded in mystery. Some say the stones glowed or shifted, others that they were cast like lots, their arrangement revealing God's answer. Whatever the process, it was a sacred act performed with the weight of divine trust, binding the people to the rhythm of God's will. David's flight and the Urim's guidance. Now, imagine yourself in a different time, centuries later, in the rugged wilderness of Judah. The air is dry, the ground cracked beneath your feet, and the distant sound of hooves signals danger. Here we find David, not yet king, but a fugitive fleeing the wrath of King Saul. The year is roughly 1000 BCE, and David, a young man with a poet's heart and a warrior's resolve, is caught in a constant struggle for survival. His band of followers, loyal but weary, huddle in the shadows of rocky hills, their faces etched with fear and determination. David's life is a tapestry of courage and uncertainty. He is a man of action, yet one who pauses to seek divine guidance. When word reaches him that the Philistines are raiding the city of Keilah, stealing grain from its threshing floors, he feels the pull to act. But the wilderness is a place of peril, and his men are hesitant, their eyes scanning the horizon for Saul's soldiers. David turns to Abiathar, the priest who carries the ephod, a sacred garment holding the Urim and Thummim. The scene is vivid. The priest, draped in linen, stands before David, the stones hidden within the folds of his breastplate. The air is thick with tension, the scent of dust and sweat mingling as David kneels, his voice steady but urgent. He asks, his words cutting through the silence. The priest, guided by the sacred stones, relays God's answer. Go, attack the Philistines and rescue Keilah. But doubt lingers among David's men, their fear a heavy weight. David, ever cautious, seeks confirmation. Again he asks, and again the Lord reassures him through the Urim and Thummim. Victory is promised. Emboldened, David leads his men to Keilah, their footsteps echoing in the dawn light. The battle is swift, the Philistines driven back, and Keilah is saved. The rhythm of their lives, guided by divine clarity, finds a moment of triumph. Yet, the story does not end there. David learns that Saul, consumed by jealousy, plans to trap him in Keilah. Once more, he calls for Abiathar and the ephod. The questions are precise. Will Saul come down to Keilah? The answer comes, yes, he will come down. Then, with a heavier heart, David asks, will the people of Keilah betray me and my men to Saul? The stones, through God's will, reveal a painful truth. They will betray you. The Urim and Thummim, silent yet profound, have shaped their survival. The enigma of the Urim and Thummim. The Urim and Thummim remain one of the Bible's great mysteries. Their physical form and method of use lost to time. Imagine standing in a modern museum, gazing at artifacts from ancient Israel pottery, shards, worn tools, fragments of linen. Nowhere among them will you find the Urim and Thummim, for no archaeological evidence confirms their appearance. Were they polished stones, perhaps engraved with symbols? Were they gems that caught the light, or simple objects imbued with divine significance? The Bible offers no description, only their purpose: to seek God's will. Scholars have long debated their nature. Some propose they were akin to lots, cast or drawn to yield a binary answer, yes or no, light or perfection. Others suggest they were part of a ritual, their use accompanied by prayer and incense, the priest's hands trembling as he sought divine clarity. Ancient Jewish texts, like the Talmud, hint at their use declining after the time of David, replaced by prophetic voices. By the time of the Second Temple, their absence was keenly felt, a reminder of a lost connection to God's direct guidance. Culturally, the Urim and Thummim reflect a worldview where the divine was not distant but intimately involved in human affairs. In a world without written scriptures as we know them, the priest's role was to bridge the gap, his breastplate a physical link to God's voice. The stones were a symbol of trust, a reminder that even in the chaos of war or the uncertainty of exile, the rhythm of God's will could guide the faithful. Yet, their mystery invites us to ponder. What does it mean to seek divine answers in a world of ambiguity? Saul's use and the weight of vows. Now, shift your gaze to the royal court of Saul, Israel's first king, a man whose life was a constant struggle between divine favor and personal turmoil. Imagine the opulence of his encampment, tents adorned with woven fabrics, the air heavy with the scent of roasted meat and myrrh. Saul, tall and commanding, stands at the center, his crown a symbol of authority, yet his heart troubled by doubt. The Urim and Thummim, carried by the priest, were not only for fugitives like David, but for kings, their decisions shaping nations. In one haunting episode, Saul, locked in battle with the Philistines, imposes a vow on his army. No man shall eat until victory is secured. The oath is a sacred bond, its weight felt by every soldier trudging through the dust, their stomachs empty, their strength waning. Unbeknownst to Saul, his son, Jonathan, brave and impulsive, finds a honeycomb in the forest. The scent of sweet honey is irresistible, and he tastes it, his eyes brightening with renewed vigor. But this act, innocent yet forbidden, breaks the king's vow. When Saul seeks God's guidance through the Urim and Thummim to pursue the Philistines, the stones are silent. The absence of an answer is a chilling void, a sign of divine displeasure. Saul, driven by the weight of his own words, turns to the stones again, demanding they reveal the guilty party. The process is methodical, the priest's hands steady as the lots narrow to Saul and Jonathan, then to Jonathan alone. The air grows thick with dread as Saul declares, "Even if it is my son, he shall die." The stones, unyielding, point to Jonathan. Imagine the scene. Jonathan, his armor stained with battle, stands before his father, the taste of honey still lingering. The people, moved by his bravery and the victory he secured, plead for his life. Their voices rise like a gentle wave, washing over Saul's resolve. In this moment, the rhythm of their lives shifts not through the stone's judgment, but through the compassion of the community. Jonathan is spared, a testament to the tension between divine justice and human mercy. Contrast this with the daily life of the common Israelite. While the elite kings and priests wielded the Urim and Thummim, the ordinary person lived by the land, their hands calloused from plowing fields or weaving cloth. Their faith was not in sacred stones, but in the cycles of sowing and reaping, in the hope of rain and the fear of drought. Yet they too felt the weight of vows and divine will. Their lives intertwined with the decisions of those who sought God's voice. The Urim and Thummim, though distant, were a reminder that their world was guided by a higher purpose, even as they toiled under the sun. The handwriting on the wall, a prophetic mystery that shook an empire to its core. Step into the shadowy grandeur of ancient Babylon, the most powerful empire of its time. Picture yourself standing beneath the towering arches of a royal palace, surrounded by walls etched with mythical beasts, winged lions, and sacred flowers. The scent of exotic incense and aged wine hangs thick in the air, dancing with the glow of hundreds of oil lamps. It's around 539 BCE, the peak of Babylonian glory, and yet an invisible doom lurks in the silence between breaths. Tonight, the palace is alive with music, laughter, and the clinking of golden goblets. King Belshazzar, draped in royal splendor, hosts a decadent feast, pouring wine into vessels stolen from the holy temple of Jerusalem. But as arrogance fills the halls, something divine intervenes, something terrifying. Without warning, a disembodied hand appears, etching cryptic words of judgment onto the palace wall. The music halts. The crowd freezes. The king turns pale. The message is clear to only one man, Daniel, a prophet of the Most High. This isn't just a story. It's a chilling encounter with destiny, a moment when God speaks through firelight, rewriting the fate of kings. Are you ready to uncover the secret behind the handwriting on the wall? Because once you do, there's no turning back. The pulse of Babylon. Picture the heart of Babylon, a city of unrivaled grandeur, its streets paved with polished stone, its canals reflecting the glow of torchlight. The air carries the aroma of fresh-baked bread from market stalls, incense offered to gods of clay and gold. The people of Babylon live in a world of abundance and ambition, their days filled with the clatter of looms, the shouts of traders, and the soft chants of priests in towering ziggurats. Life here is a constant rhythm of work and worship, where the divine and the earthly intertwine. In the palace, the elite live in a different cadence. Servants move silently, their arms laden with trays of dates and roasted meats, while musicians pluck lyres, their melodies weaving through the chatter of nobles. The banquet hall is a sensory tapestry. Golden goblets gleam under lamplight. The air thick with the scent of myrrh and the laughter of guests. King Belshazzar, clad in robes of purple and gold, presides over this opulence, his throne elevated above the crowd. Yet, even in this world of excess, there is a quiet unease, a whisper of fragility beneath the grandeur. The common folk beyond the palace walls, tending fields or crafting pottery, know little of such feasts, their lives shaped by the labor that sustains the empire's wealth. The sacred vessels, looted from Jerusalem's temple decades earlier, are a silent presence in the palace storerooms. To the Babylonians, they are trophies of conquest, their gold and silver gleaming with the weight of a fallen city. To the exiles from Judah, they are a painful reminder of loss, their sanctity defiled. In this world where gods are many and power is fleeting, the stage is set for a divine interruption, a moment that will echo through the ages. Belshazzar's feast and the mysterious writing. Now, let yourself stand among the 1,000 nobles, wives, and concubines gathered in Belshazzar's banquet hall. The air is warm, the tables laden with platters of spiced lamb and honeyed cakes, the clink of goblets, a steady rhythm. Belshazzar, emboldened by wine, raises his voice, his words slurred but commanding. In a reckless act of defiance, he orders the sacred vessels from Jerusalem's temple to be brought forth. The crowd falls silent as servants carry in the gold and silver cups, their surfaces etched with the memory of a distant god. With these holy relics, Belshazzar and his guests toast their idols, gods of bronze, iron, wood, and stone mocking the divine with every sip. In that moment, the air shifts. A hush falls over the hall, the music faltering. Before the eyes of all, a human hand appears, its fingers tracing strange words onto the plaster wall near a flickering lampstand. The words Mene, Mene, Tekel, parsing glow in the dim light, their meaning a mystery to the revelers. Belshazzar's face drains of color, his legs trembling, his knees knocking together like reeds in the wind. The scent of fear mingles with the fading aroma of wine, and the hall erupts in whispers. The king, desperate, summons his wise enchanters, astrologers, diviners promising riches to anyone who can decipher the writing. But their wisdom fails, their voices a cacophony of confusion. Into this chaos steps the Queen Mother, her presence commanding yet calm. She speaks of Daniel, a prophet from the days of Nebuchadnezzar, whose insight pierced the mysteries of dreams and visions. Daniel is brought before the king, his robes plain against the opulence of the court, his eyes steady with divine clarity. Refusing Belshazzar's rewards, he gazes at the wall and speaks. Mene, he says, God has numbered the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. Parson, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. The words hang in the air, a quiet verdict that seals Babylon's fate. That very night, as the city sleeps under a starlit sky, Belshazzar is slain, and Darius, the Mede, claims the throne. The rhythm of an empire shifts, its glory fading like smoke. The writings lasting echoes. The handwriting on the wall is a moment frozen in time, its mystery enduring across centuries. Imagine standing in the ruins of Babylon today, where crumbling bricks and weathered stones whisper of a lost empire. Archaeologists have uncovered fragments of this world clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform, palace walls etched with royal decrees, but no trace of the words mene, tekel, parson. Yet the story resonates, its imagery etched into cultural memory. The phrase, "the writing on the wall," has become a proverb, a warning of inevitable judgment, its origins rooted in this ancient night. Scholars ponder the words themselves, their Aramaic roots hinting at measures and divisions. Mene for numbered, tekel for weighed, parson for divided. Some suggest they were a play on weights and currencies, a divine ledger balancing Belshazzar's hubris. Others see them as a coded rebuke, their meaning clear only through prophetic insight. In the culture of Babylon, where omens were read in the stars and the flight of birds, such a sign would have struck terror, a divine message breaking through the veil of mortal arrogance. The use of Jerusalem's sacred vessels adds a layer of cultural weight. To the Babylonians, they were spoils of war, symbols of dominance. To the Jewish exiles, they were a wound, their misuse a desecration. Daniel's interpretation bridges these worlds, affirming the sovereignty of a God who judges kings and empires alike. The story reflects a broader biblical theme, the fragility of human power in the face of divine will, a rhythm that pulses through the lives of both the mighty and the humble. The divide of palace and people. Now, step outside the palace, where the common people of Babylon live in the shadow of its grandeur. Imagine a potter at his wheel, his hands shaping clay as the sun rises. The air filled with the scent of damp earth and straw. His life is one of labor, his days spent crafting vessels for oil or grain, his nights lit by the soft glow of a single lamp. The feasts of the palace are distant rumors, their excess unimaginable to those who toil for daily bread. Yet, the king's actions ripple outward, his defiance of the divine, a weight felt by all. In the palace, the elite live in a world of calculated display. Belshazzar's feast is not just a celebration, but a performance of power. His use of the sacred vessels, a bold assertion of supremacy. The nobles, draped in fine linens, move through a world of privilege, their lives cushioned by wealth, but fragile in the face of divine judgment. Daniel, an exile, an outsider, stands in stark contrast. His refusal of Belshazzar's rewards marks him as a man of principle, his wisdom grounded not in wealth, but in faith. The common Babylonian, unaware of the drama unfolding in the palace, lives by a simpler rhythm. Their faith is in the gods of their temples, their hopes tied to the harvest and the safety of their families. The fall of Belshazzar, swift and final, would have reached them as a distant echo, a reminder that even kings are subject to a higher power. The handwriting on the wall, though unseen by them, shifts the rhythm of their world, a testament to the divine presence that watches over both palace and potter's hut. Step into the shadows of Babylon, the chilling prophecy that ended an empire. Imagine yourself transported back in time, standing beneath the vaulted ceilings of a majestic Babylonian palace. The walls are etched with mystical carvings. Winged lions guard the corridors. Lotus blossoms bloom in eternal stone, and torches crackle as their flames dance across golden mosaics. The air is thick with the scent of exotic spices and fermented wine, while the hum of harps and laughter echoes through the marble halls. It is the year 539 BCE, and Babylon, the beating heart of an empire's, alive with opulence. Merchants trade jewels and silk, priests chant ancient prayers, and towers stretch skyward as if daring to touch the heavens. Tonight is no ordinary night. A lavish royal banquet spills across the palace's show of indulgence and unchecked power. But behind the glittering spectacle, something unseen is stirring. Then, without warning, a spectral hand appears, etching mysterious words onto the wall, words that no one can read, yet everyone fears. The music halts, the wine turns bitter. The king's face pales. This is not myth. This is the infamous story of the writing on the wall, a divine warning that shattered a kingdom and rewrote history. What did the message say? And why did it change everything forever? Dare to uncover the truth. The pulse of Babylon. Picture the heart of Babylon, a city of unrivaled grandeur, its streets paved with polished stone, its canals reflecting the glow of torchlight. The air carries the aroma of fresh baked bread from market stalls, mingling with the sharp tang of incense offered to gods of clay and gold. The people of Babylon live in a world of abundance and ambition, their days filled with the clatter of looms, the shouts of traders, and the soft chants of priests in towering ziggurats. Life here is a constant rhythm of work and worship, where the divine and the earthly intertwine. In the palace, the elite live in a different cadence. Servants move silently, their arms laden with trays of dates and roasted meats, while musicians pluck lyres, their melodies weaving through the chatter of nobles. The banquet hall is a sensory tapestry. Golden goblets gleam under lamplight. The air thick with the scent of myrrh and the laughter of guests. King Belshazzar, clad in robes of purple and gold, presides over this opulence, his throne elevated above the crowd. Yet, even in this world of excess, there is a quiet unease, a whisper of fragility beneath the grandeur. The common folk beyond the palace walls, tending fields or crafting pottery, know little of such feasts. Their lives shaped by the labor that sustains the empire's wealth. The sacred vessels, looted from Jerusalem's temple decades earlier, are a silent presence in the palace storerooms. To the Babylonians, they are trophies of conquest, their gold and silver gleaming with the weight of a fallen city. To the exiles from Judah, they are a painful reminder of loss, their sanctity defiled. In this world, where gods are many and power is fleeting, the stage is set for a divine interruption, a moment that will echo through the ages. Belshazzar's feast and the mysterious writing. Now, let yourself stand among the 1,000 nobles, wives, and concubines gathered in Belshazzar's banquet hall. The air is warm, the tables laden with platters of spiced lamb and honeyed cakes, the clink of goblets, a steady rhythm. Belshazzar, emboldened by wine, raises his voice, his words slurred but commanding. In a reckless act of defiance, he orders the sacred vessels from Jerusalem's temple to be brought forth. The crowd falls silent as servants carry in the gold and silver cups, their surfaces etched with the memory of a distant god. With these holy relics, Belshazzar and his guests toast their idols, gods of bronze, iron, wood, and stone, mocking the divine with every sip. In that moment, the air shifts. A hush falls over the hall, the music faltering. Before the eyes of all, a human hand appears, its fingers tracing strange words onto the plaster wall near a flickering lampstand. The words, Mene, Tekel, parsing glow in the dim light, their meaning a mystery to the revelers. Belshazzar's face drains of color, his legs trembling, his knees knocking together like reeds in the wind. The scent of fear mingles with the fading aroma of wine, and the hall erupts in whispers. The king, desperate, summons his wise menenchancers, astrologers, diviners promising riches to anyone who can decipher the writing. But their wisdom fails, their voices a cacophony of confusion. Into this chaos steps the Queen Mother, her presence commanding yet calm. She speaks of Daniel, a prophet from the days of Nebuchadnezzar, whose insight pierced the mysteries of dreams and visions. Daniel is brought before the king, his robes plain against the opulence of the court, his eyes steady with divine clarity. Refusing Belshazzar's rewards, he gazes at the wall and speaks. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. Parson, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. The words hang in the air, a quiet verdict that seals Babylon's fate. That very night, as the city sleeps under a starlit sky, Belshazzar is slain, and Darius, the Mede, claims the throne. The rhythm of an empire shifts, its glory fading like smoke. The writings lasting echoes. The handwriting on the wall is a moment frozen in time, its mystery enduring across centuries. Imagine standing in the ruins of Babylon today, where crumbling bricks and weathered stones whisper of a lost empire. Archaeologists have uncovered fragments of this world clay tablets inscribed with cuneiform, palace walls etched with royal decrees, but no trace of the words Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parson. Yet the story resonates, its imagery etched into cultural memory. The phrase, "the writing on the wall," has become a proverb, a warning of inevitable judgment, its origins rooted in this ancient night. Scholars ponder the words themselves, their Aramaic roots hinting at measures and divisions. Mene for numbered, Tekel for weighed, Parson for divided. Some suggest they were a play on weights and currencies, a divine ledger balancing Belshazzar's hubris. Others see them as a coded rebuke, their meaning clear only through prophetic insight. In the culture of Babylon, where omens were read in the stars, and the flight of birds, such a sign would have struck terror, a divine message breaking through the veil of mortal arrogance. The use of Jerusalem's sacred vessels adds a layer of cultural weight. To the Babylonians, they were spoils of war, symbols of dominance. To the Jewish exiles, they were a wound, their misuse a desecration. Daniel's interpretation bridges these worlds, affirming the sovereignty of a God who judges kings and empires alike. The story reflects a broader biblical theme, the fragility of human power in the face of divine will, a rhythm that pulses through the lives of both the mighty and the humble, the divide of palace and people. In the palace, the elite live in a world of calculated display. Belshazzar's feast is not just a celebration, but a performance of power. His use of the sacred vessels, a bold assertion of supremacy. The nobles, draped in fine linens, move through a world of privilege, their lives cushioned by wealth, but fragile in the face of divine judgment. Daniel, an exile, an outsider, stands in stark contrast. His refusal of Belshazzar's rewards marks him as a man of principle. His wisdom grounded not in wealth, but in faith. The common Babylonian, unaware of the drama unfolding in the palace, lives by a simpler rhythm. Their faith is in the gods of their temples, their hopes tied to the harvest and the safety of their families. The fall of Belshazzar, swift and final, would have reached them as a distant echo, a reminder that even kings are subject to a higher power. The handwriting on the wall shifts the rhythm of their world, a testament to the divine presence that watches over both palace and potter's hut. The mysterious law. Why you must never boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Picture this. You're sitting atop a quiet hillside in ancient Canaan. The breeze carries the fragrant scent of wild thyme, mingling with the aroma of sun-warmed soil and blooming fig trees. Below you, fields ripple like waves in golden light as the sun dips beneath the horizon. Shepherds call softly to their flocks, guiding young goats back to their mothers. The land breathes with rhythms, slow, sacred, and inseparably tied to the heartbeat of creation. Now imagine, amidst this pastoral serenity, a command simple yet puzzling echoes like a divine whisper from the sacred scrolls. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Not once, but 3 times this ancient law is repeated in the Torah, each mention charged with quiet intensity and deep symbolic meaning. Why? What truth lies beneath these few words? This isn't just a dietary rule. It's a divine boundary drawn with both mystery and mercy. It's a spiritual call to honor the cycles of life, to preserve the sacred relationship between mother and child, nourishment and survival. In a time when many surrounding cultures celebrated fertility through pagan rituals, including boiling offspring in the very life force meant to nurture them, this command set Israel apart, drawing a line between reverence and cruelty. Far more than an obscure culinary restriction, this law reflects a God who deeply values compassion, even in the smallest acts of human behavior. It reminds us that faith is not separate from daily life, but rooted in how we treat the creatures entrusted to us. Let's journey into the heart of this ancient mystery and uncover how one short command carried a weight that would echo through centuries, shaping not only Israelite identity, but offering a profound moral lesson still relevant today. The shepherd's world. Picture the life of a shepherd in ancient Israel, perhaps around 1200 BCE, in the hill country of Canaan. The air is filled with the soft bleating of goats and the rustle of olive branches in the breeze. Your hands are calloused from guiding flocks across rocky paths, your days spent seeking patches of green amidst the sun-scorched hills. The scent of wool and warm milk lingers as you tend to your animals, each one a lifeline for your family. Goats provide not just milk, but cheese, hides, and meat. The shepherd's day begins at dawn, the air cool and heavy with dew. You lead your flock to graze, your staff a familiar weight in your hand, your eyes scanning for predators or stray kids. At midday, you pause under the shade of a terebinth tree, the faint aroma of its resin mixing with the earthy smell of the herd. Milking is a careful task. The warm liquid collected in clay jars, its richness a gift for nourishing the young, both human and animal. The bond between mother, goat, and kid is intimate. Her milk a symbol of life, her bleat a call to her offspring. This is a world where every resource is precious, where the line between survival and scarcity is thin. In the villages, women weave the rhythm of this life into their own. They churn milk into cheese, their hands moving with practiced ease, the air filled with the tangy scent of fermentation. Meals are simple flatbread, olives, and curds shared around a fire as stories of covenant and law are whispered. The Torah's commands, delivered through Moses, are not distant rules, but a guide for daily living, shaping how the people care for their land, their animals, and each other. The prohibition against boiling a young goat in its mother's milk, though specific, is part of this tapestry. A reminder that even in the mundane, there is a call to holiness. The law's place in Israel's covenant. Now, imagine yourself among the Israelites at the foot of Mount Sinai, the air charged with the weight of divine presence. The year is uncertain, but the scene is vivid. A people newly freed from Egypt, their tents spread across the desert, the scent of manna lingering in the morning air. Moses stands before them, his face weathered by years of leading, his voice carrying the words of God. Among the laws given rules for worship, justice, and daily life comes this curious command, recorded in Exodus and Deuteronomy. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. This is not a casual instruction, but a deliberate thread in the covenant, repeated 3 times to underscore its significance. Picture Moses, his staff planted in the sand, speaking to a people still learning what it means to be set apart. The command is specific, almost startlingly so, amidst broader laws about offerings and festivals. It does not explain itself, leaving the listener to ponder its purpose. Was it a practical rule tied to the realities of herding, a moral stance rooted in compassion, or a rejection of practices that clashed with Israel's calling? The event of the law's giving is a moment of formation. The Israelites, once slaves, are now a nation bound by God's voice. The air around Sinai hums with awe, the people's faces reflecting both fear and hope. The prohibition, though small in the scope of the Torah, carries weight, shaping how the people interact with the creatures entrusted to them. It is a law that touches the heart of daily life, where the act of preparing food becomes an expression of faith. The rhythm of their lives, guided by these commands, is one of obedience and trust, a constant striving to align with the divine will. The enigma of the prohibition against boiling a young goat in its mother's milk, is one of the Bible's enduring puzzles. Its specificity sparking curiosity across centuries. Imagine standing in an archaeological site in modern Israel, sifting through the remains of ancient hearth-scarred bones, fragments of clay pots, the faint scent of dust in the air. No direct evidence explains this law, but its echoes resonate in Jewish tradition and scholarly debate. Why this particular act? What deeper meaning lies beneath its surface? Some scholars suggest the prohibition was a rejection of pagan rituals. In the ancient Near East, cultures like the Canaanites may have cooked young animals in milk as part of fertility rites or offerings to deities. The act steeped in superstition. The Torah, in contrast, sets Israel apart, its laws a counterpoint to neighboring practices. By forbidding this act, God might have been drawing a clear line, calling his people to reject practices that blurred the sacred and the profane. The scent of such rituals, milk simmering over a fire, mingled with the aroma of roasted flesh wood, have been familiar to Israel's neighbors. But for the Israelites, it was a boundary not to be crossed. Other interpretations focus on compassion. Picture a mother goat, her bleats soft as she nuzzles her kid, her milk a lifeline for its growth. To use that same milk to cook her offspring feels jarring, a disruption of the natural bond between mother and child. Some scholars argue this law reflects a divine call to empathy, a reminder to honor the life-giving relationship between creatures. In a world where survival often demanded hard choices, this command instilled a rhythm of care, a pause to consider the sanctity of life even in the act of preparing food. Archaeologically, no clay tablet or inscription directly references this practice, but the cultural context offers clues. Ancient texts from Ugarit, a city near Canaan, describe rituals involving milk and animals, hinting at practices Israel might have encountered. The law's repetition in the Torah 3 times, in Exodus 23 to 19, Exodus 34 to 26, and Deuteronomy 14:21, suggests its importance, a refrain that shaped Jewish dietary traditions. This prohibition became a cornerstone of kosher laws, leading to the strict separation of meat and dairy in Jewish households, a practice that endures today. Imagine a modern kosher kitchen where two sets of dishes ensure no mingling of milk and meat, a living echo of this ancient command. Culturally, the law reflects Israel's unique identity. While their neighbors offered sacrifices to appease gods of fertility or war, Israel's God demanded a life of holiness, woven into the fabric of daily tasks. The shepherd, milking his goat under the shade of an olive tree, was not just sustaining his family, but participating in a covenant. The prohibition, though mysterious, was a reminder that even the smallest acts, how one cooked a meal, could reflect devotion to a God who saw all. The laws reach across Israel now. Shift your gaze to the broader tapestry of Israelite society, where the rhythm of life varied between the humble and the elite. Imagine a village elder, his robes simple but adorned with a woven sash, sitting beneath a fig tree to settle disputes. He is a keeper of the law, his voice steady as he recites the Torah's commands to a gathered crowd. The prohibition against boiling a kid in its mother's milk is one of many rules he upholds. Its specificity, a point of discussion among farmers and herders. For the elite priests and tribal leaders, the law is a matter of ritual purity, a way to maintain the sanctity of their offerings at the tabernacle, where the air is thick with a scent of burning incense and roasted grain. Contrast this with the daily life of the common shepherd or farmer. Picture a young woman, her hands deftly kneading dough beside a clay oven, the heat warming her face as she prepares a meal for her family. The prohibition shapes her actions. She ensures no milk touches the meat she cooks. Her movements deliberate, guided by the laws passed down through generations. Her life is one of constant labor, tending goats, grinding grain, fetching water from a nearby spring. These laws give her work a sacred rhythm, a connection to a larger purpose. The elite, with their access to priests and scribes, might ponder the law's deeper meanings, debating its origins in temple courtyards. For them, it is a matter of theology and leadership, a way to guide the people in righteousness. But for the common folk, it is practical, woven into the texture of their days. The law's repetition in the Torah ensures it is not forgotten. Its words, a steady refrain in a world of uncertainty. Whether in the priest's sanctified chambers or the shepherd's dusty field, the prohibition binds the community, a shared commitment to a God who speaks through both the grand and the mundane. The contrast is subtle but profound. While the elite wield influence, their lives cushioned by authority, the common people bear the weight of survival. Yet, the law levels them. The priest offering a sacrifice and the shepherd preparing. Moses sees the back of God. Imagine yourself standing on the rugged slopes of Mount Sinai. The air cool and sharp, carrying the faint scent of scorched stone and wild herbs. The year is roughly 13th century BCE, and the Israelites, newly freed from Egypt, are encamped below, their tents a patchwork against the desert floor. Above, the mountain looms, its peak shrouded in cloud and fire, a place where the divine and human meet. Here, in this sacred solitude, Moses, the leader and prophet, makes an audacious request to see God's glory. The response is both a gift and a mystery, a veiled glimpse of the divine, described as God's back. Let the rhythm of this ancient encounter guide you as we explore a moment that stretches the boundaries of human understanding. The life of a wilderness prophet. Picture the world of the Israelites in the Sinai wilderness. There lives a constant struggle against the harshness of the desert. The air is dry, the ground cracked beneath their feet, and the scent of manna sweet and fleeting lingers in the morning air. Families huddle in tents of woven goat hair, their days filled with the tasks of survival, gathering food, tending flocks, and maintaining the fragile order of a people on the move. The tabernacle, a portable sanctuary, stands at the heart of their camp, its curtains rippling in the wind, its altar warm with the glow of offerings. The air carries the faint aroma of burning wood and incense, a reminder of the covenant that binds them. Moses, their leader, lives a life apart, yet deeply connected to his people. Imagine him rising before dawn, his cloak dusted with sand, his face etched with the weight of responsibility. His days are spent mediating disputes, teaching the laws given by God, and interceding for a people prone to doubt. The scent of sheepskin and olive oil clings to him as he moves between the camp and the mountain, his staff a steady companion. His tent, simple but set apart, is a place of prayer and reflection, where the air hums with the quiet intensity of divine communion. The rhythm of Moses' life is one of relentless devotion. He is not a king, but a shepherd of souls, his voice steady as he speaks God's words to a weary people. The Israelites look to him, their trust mingled with murmurs of discontent as they navigate the wilderness. Yet, Moses' closeness to God sets him apart. His encounters on Sinai marked by thunder, cloud, and the weight of divine presence shape the rhythm of their lives, a constant reminder that they are led by a God who speaks. Moses' request and God's response. Now, let yourself stand with Moses on the rocky slopes of Sinai, the air thick with the scent of dust and the distant echo of the camp below. The moment is intimate, set against the backdrop of Israel's rebellion and God's mercy. Moses, having interceded for his people after their sin with a golden calf, feels a deep yearning. His relationship with God is unique scripture says he spoke with God, face to face, as one speaks to a friend. Yet, this closeness only deepens his desire. "Please, show me your glory," he asks, his voice steady but bold, the words rising like a prayer into the still air. God's response is both gracious and solemn. The air seems to pause as the divine voice speaks. "You cannot see my face, for no one may see me and live." The warning is clear, a reminder of the overwhelming majesty of God's presence, too vast for human eyes to bear. Yet, in an act of extraordinary grace, God offers a compromise. "I will place you in a cleft of the rock," he says, "and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will remove my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen." Imagine Moses, his heart pounding, standing in the cool shadow of the rock, the scent of damp stone grounding him as he waits. The moment unfolds with quiet awe. God's presence descends, the air heavy with the weight of holiness. Moses, shielded in the cleft, feels the press of divine protection as God's hand covers him. A metaphor for safety in the face of overwhelming glory. When the hand is lifted, Moses glimpses what Scripture calls God's back, a veiled manifestation of divine presence, not a literal form, but a fleeting vision of holiness. The air hums with the afterglow of this encounter, the scent of scorched earth lingering as Moses descends the mountain, his face radiant with the echo of God's glory. This event, recorded in Exodus 33, is a singular moment in Scripture. Moses, the mediator of the covenant, stands at the edge of human experience, his request both bold and humble. The rhythm of his life, marked by constant dialogue with God, reaches a pinnacle here, a moment of intimacy that sets him apart even among prophets. Yet, the encounter is not for his sake alone. His radiant face, glowing with divine light, becomes a sign to the Israelites below, a reassurance that their leader has stood in God's presence. The constant struggle of their wilderness journey is met with a steady rhythm of divine guidance, a promise that carries them forward. The enigma of seeing God, the mystery of Moses seeing God's back, lingers like a whisper across time. Its meaning debated by scholars and theologians. Imagine standing in a modern archaeological dig near the Sinai Peninsula, sifting through fragments of ancient campsites' charred wood, broken pottery, the faint scent of desert dust in the air. No artifact confirms this encounter, for it transcends the material. The text itself is sparse, offering no detailed description of what Moses saw, only that it was a glimpse of God's glory, veiled to protect human frailty. The language of back and face is anthropomorphic, a poetic way to describe the indescribable. In the culture of ancient Israel, God's presence was both intimate and unapproachable, a paradox woven into their worship. The tabernacle, with its veiled Holy of Holies, reflected this. God dwelt among his people, yet his full glory was hidden, accessible only through ritual and reverence. The idea that no one could see God's face and live underscored his transcendence, a majesty too vast for human senses. Yet, God's grace in allowing Moses this partial vision, a rhythm of closeness and distance that defined Israel's faith. Scholars suggest various interpretations. Some see the back as a metaphor for the after effects of God's presence, his mercy, justice, or creation itself. Others propose it was a visionary experience, a moment of spiritual perception rather than physical sight. Ancient Jewish traditions, like those in the Talmud, describe Moses' encounter as a unique privilege, his radiant face a testament to the divine touch. In the broader Near Eastern context, gods were often depicted as radiant beings, their glory dangerous to mortals. Israel's God, however, is distinct, granting Moses a glimpse not to overwhelm but to affirm the covenant. Archaeologically, the search for Mount Sinai itself remains elusive, with sites like Jebel Musa or Jebel Serbal proposed but unconfirmed. The lack of physical evidence mirrors the mystery of the event. It is a story of faith, not stone. Culturally, this moment shaped Israel's understanding of God as both near and wholly other, a balance that permeates their laws and worship. The rhythm of their lives, whether in the wilderness or later in the promised land, was anchored by this truth. God's presence was real, yet always just beyond full comprehension. Moses and the people now, shift your gaze to the Israelite camp below Sinai, where the common people live in the shadow of the mountain. Imagine a mother kneading dew beside her tent, the air warm with the scent of baking bread, her children playing in the dust. Her life is one of labor, gathering manna, mending clothes, teaching her young the stories of Egypt's deliverance. The constant struggle of the wilderness shapes her days, yet her hope rests in the covenant, in the leader who ascends the mountain to speak with God. Moses, as the elite figure of prophet and lawgiver, stands apart. His tent, pitched outside the camp, is a place of divine encounter, the air thick with the weight of his calling. While the people look to him, he bears the burden of their doubts and rebellions, his intercessions a bridge between their failings and God's mercy. The moment he sees God's back is not shared with the masses. It is a private grace, yet its impact ripples outward. When he descends, his face glowing, the people draw back in awe, their whispers mingling with the scent of campfire smoke. The veil he wears afterward is a practical act, shielding them from the divine radiance he carries. Contrast this with the daily life of the ordinary Israelite. While Moses stands in the cleft of the rock, the people tend their flocks, their hands stained with the earth of their journey. Their faith is practical, lived in the rhythms of survival, offering sacrifices, keeping the Sabbath, trusting in the cloud and fire that guide them. Moses' encounter, though distant, reassures them. Their leader has seen the divine, and their path, however arduous, is not walked alone. The elite and the common are bound by this moment. The rhythm of God's presence, a thread that weaves through their lives. From the prophet's solitude to the shepherd's toil. When Jesus wrote in the sand, the shocking moment he defied the Old Testament and changed. History forever step into the crowded temple courtyard of ancient Jerusalem, dust swirling in the air. The scent of incense, thick and holy, echoing footsteps of pilgrims pressing against stone worn smooth by centuries of worship. It is Passover, around 30 CE, and the city vibrates with tension. Religious scholars argue. Devout voices rise in fervent prayer. Crowds gather around the latest teacher to stir hearts and challenge minds. Then comes a moment frozen in time. A woman is dragged forward, accused of adultery, sentenced by the ironclad laws of the Old Testament. The mob is ready. Stones clutched tight, fury burning in their eyes. But one man, Jesus of Nazareth, kneels silently and begins to write in the sand. No one knows exactly what he wrote, but his gesture halted the storm. And then he speaks. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. A single sentence that shattered centuries of legalism and flipped the script on justice. This wasn't tea, just a lesson in compassionate was a divine confrontation with the harshest parts of religious law. Jesus didn't just teach love. He rewrote the very definition of righteousness for blood. This moment wasn't just powerful, it changed history. The world of first-century Jerusalem pictured Jerusalem in the time of Jesus. A city alive with the rhythm of faith and tradition. The morning sun casts long shadows across the temple courts, where priests in white linen offer sacrifices, the air heavy with the aroma of roasted grain and myrrh. Merchants hawk their wares in nearby street salives, woven cloth, and clay lambs, their shouts mingling with the bleating of lambs brought for offerings. Pilgrims from across Judea and beyond fill the city, their sandals kicking up dust as they weave through crowded alleys. Their voices a tapestry of hope and devotion. For the common people, life is a constant struggle to balance piety and survival. A baker kneads dough in the cool of dawn, the scent of warm bread, a small comfort against the weight of Roman taxes. A widow sells woven baskets, her hands calloused, her eyes scanning the crowd for buyers. The law of Moses governs their lives, its commands etched into their daily rhythms: Sabbath rest, kosher meals, and the call to uphold holiness. Yet, the law's weight falls heaviest on the vulnerable, its penalties a looming threat for those who stray. In the temple, the elite scribes and Pharisees move with authority, their robes adorned with tassels, their words shaping the interpretation of the Torah. Their lives are steeped in study and ritual, the air around them filled with the rustle of scrolls and the murmur of debate. They are guardians of the law, their role to ensure the covenant is upheld, even when it demands harsh justice. The courtyard where Jesus teaches is a meeting place of these worlds' lead and everyday wear. The rhythm of tradition is about to be challenged. Jesus and the woman caught in adultery now. Let yourself stand among the crowd in the temple courtyard. The morning air warm with the scent of stone and sacrifice. Jesus sits, teaching, his voice steady, drawing listeners with parables of grace. Suddenly, the crowd parts as a group of scribes and Pharisees approaches, dragging a woman caught in adultery. Her face is flushed with shame, her clothes disheveled, the dust of the streets clinging to her. The men, their voices sharp, cite the law of Moses. Such a woman must be stoned. They challenge Jesus, their words a trap to discredit him. What do you say? The air grows tense, the crowd's murmurs falling silent. Jesus, unruffled, bends down and writes with his finger in the dust, the soft scrape of his touch, the only sound. Imagine the scene. The woman trembling, the accusers gripping stones, their eyes fixed on Jesus. They press him again, their voices rising. He straightens, his gaze steady, and speaks words that echo through time. Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. Then he bends again, writing in the sand. The rhythm of his movements calms against the crowd's unrest. One by one, the accusers falter. The oldest, their faces weathered by years, drop their stones first, the clatter muffled by the dust. The younger follow, their resolve crumbling under the weight of their own guilt. The crowd thins, the air now quiet, but for the woman's soft breaths. Jesus rises, meeting her eyes with compassion. Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? He asks. No one, sir. She replies, her voice trembling. Then neither do I condemn you, Jesus says. Go now and leave your life of sin. This moment, recorded in John 8:1-11, is a radical departure from the Old Testament's call for stoning as punishment for adultery. Where the law demanded death to purge evil, Jesus offers mercy, challenging the crowd to confront their own flaws. His writing in the sand's content, a mystery, becomes a silent rebuke, a gesture that shifts the rhythm of justice from condemnation to redemption. The writing in the sand. The mystery of what Jesus wrote in the sand has captivated scholars and believers for centuries. Imagine standing in the ruins of ancient Jerusalem, the temple's stones long crumbled, the air carrying only the scent of time. No archaeological trace remains of this moment, no inscription to reveal Jesus' words. Were they names, sins, or a passage from Scripture? Some suggest he wrote the sins of the accusers, a silent mirror to their hypocrisy. Others propose he traced words of the law, reframing its demands with grace. The text is silent, leaving the act itself as the message a pause that invites reflection. In the cultural context of first-century Judea, stoning was a communal act, a ritual to uphold the covenant's holiness. The law, as seen in Leviticus 20:10 and Deuteronomy 22, prescribed death for adultery, a penalty meant to protect the community's purity. Yet, Jesus' response reflects a shift in the rhythm of faith. His words echo the prophetic call for mercy over sacrifice, seen in Hosea and Micah. But they go further, offering the woman a chance to begin anew. This act aligns with his broader ministry, where healing and forgiveness redefine righteousness. Archaeologically, the temple courtyard is gone, its stones scattered by Roman destruction in 70 CE. Yet, the story's cultural impact endures, its message of compassion shaping Christian ethics. In a world where justice was swift and public, Jesus' gesture writing in the dust, erased by the wind, speaks of impermanence, of human frailty, and of a God who offers second chances. The rhythm of this moment, both quiet and revolutionary, challenges the legalism of the elite, while offering hope to the broken. The divide of accuser and accused now step back to the temple courtyard, where the elite and the common collide. The scribes and Pharisees, with their scrolls and authority, live in a world of privilege, their days spent debating the finer points of the law. Their robes, finely woven, carry the scent of incense from their prayers. Their status, a shield against the struggles of the masses. They wield the law like a sword. Their challenge to Jesus, a calculated move to preserve their power. The woman, likely from the lower rungs of society, has no such protection. Her life, perhaps one of poverty or desperation, leaves her vulnerable to the law's harsh edge. Contrast this with the daily life of Jerusalem's common folk. Picture a fisherman by the Sea of Galilee, his hands rough from nets, or a seamstress stitching cloth in a cramped home, the air warm with the scent of olive oil. Their lives are shaped by labor and faith. Their adherence to the law, a matter of survival in a community bound by covenant. The woman caught in adultery could be their neighbor. Her shame, a public spectacle they might witness or fear. Jesus' response speaks to them, offering a mercy that resonates with their own hopes for redemption. The elite seek to uphold the law's letter, their authority tied to its enforcement. But Jesus, an outsider to their circle, shifts the rhythm of justice. His words, "He who is without sin," level the divide, reminding all that sin is universal, mercy divine. The common people, watching from the edges, see in him a teacher who speaks to their struggles, who challenges the powerful without raising his voice. The woman, spared from stones, embodies the hope of a new beginning, a rhythm of grace that echoes beyond the temple walls. The day Jesus cursed the fig tree, a shocking miracle with a hidden prophetic message. Picture this. You're walking along a sun-scorched path from Bethany to Jerusalem. The year is around 30 CE. The air is heavy with the scent of ripening figs and ancient olive trees. The hills of Judea echo with the murmurs of pilgrims heading toward the holy city for Passover. Sandals brushing dust, lambs bleating in the distance, prayers rising like smoke into the morning sky. Among them walks Jesus of Nazareth, the miracle worker, the revolutionary rabbi whose words ignite souls and stir controversy. Clothed in simplicity, yet carrying the authority of heaven, he strides with divine purpose, surrounded by his 12 disciples. Every step he takes is watched. Every word he speaks cuts through hearts like lightning in a storm. And then it happens. Off the path, a fig tree catches Jesus' eye. It's full of leaves, green and vibrant, a sign of life, promise, and abundance. But something is wrong. Jesus approaches, hungry, searching for fruit, and yet there is none. In a moment that startles both the disciples and the modern reader, Jesus curses the tree. May no one ever eat fruit from you again. By morning, the tree is withered, not just dried up, but completely dead from the roots up. The disciples are stunned. Nature itself had obeyed him. But why would the Son of God destroy a tree? Why this display of what appears to be anger or judgment? This wasn't just a random act. It was a prophetic symbol, a dramatic warning to Israel, to the religious leaders, and to all who put on a show of spirituality, but bear no real fruit. The fig tree, leafy and full of outward promise, represented those who look holy on the outside, but are barren within. In this single act, Jesus revealed a divine truth. Appearance means nothing without substance. Faith without fruit is lifeless. Religion without transformation is doomed to die. The cursed fig tree became a living parable of judgment, hypocrisy, and the urgent call to authentic spiritual life. This miraculous moment, often overlooked, isn't just a curious Bible story. It's a message from eternity. What does your life bear today? Are you leafy but fruitless? Are you living in surface-level faith, or is your heart truly surrendered? The fig tree didn't wither because Jesus was angry. It withered because truth cannot coexist with falsehood forever. Judgment begins where pretense refuses to die. Let this powerful story shake you. Let it stir your soul. And let it remind you that Jesus is not just a gentle teacher. He is the judge, the king, the Son of the living God. And he is still looking for fruit in the lives of those who claim to follow him. The rhythm of Judea's roads picture the world of first-century Judea, where life moves to the rhythm of the seasons and the festivals that draw thousands to Jerusalem. The air carries the scent of blooming wildflowers and the faint smoke of village hearths. Farmers tend their fields, their hands stained with the earth, while shepherds guide flocks across rocky hills. The soft clink of bells, a constant melody. Lined with fig trees and olive groves, their shade a welcome relief for travelers weary from the sun. For the common people, daily life is a balance of labor and devotion. A woman kneads dough in the cool of morning, the aroma of baking bread mingling with the tang of fermenting wine. A merchant loads his donkey with baskets of figs and dates, his eyes scanning the road for pilgrims who might buy his wares. The fig tree, with its broad leaves and sweet fruit, is a familiar sight, its presence a promise of sustenance in a land where hunger is never far. To see a tree heavy with leaves is to hope for fruit, especially in the early spring, though the season for figs is not yet at its peak. The temple looms large in this world, its courts filled with the scent of incense and the bleating of sacrificial lambs. Pilgrims, their sandals worn thin, carry offerings and prayers, their lives shaped by the rhythm of worship. Jesus and his disciples, traveling these roads, are part of this tapestry. Their teachings, a new melody in a land steeped in tradition. The fig tree, standing alone by the roadside, becomes a quiet stage for a lesson that resonates beyond its branches. The cursing of the fig tree now. Let yourself walk beside Jesus and his disciples on the road from Bethany. The morning air, cool and fragrant with the scent of dew-soaked leaves. Jesus, hungry after a night in Bethany, spots a fig tree in the distance, its foliage lush and green, a sign of potential fruit. He approaches, his disciples trailing behind, their cloaks dusted with the earth of the path. The tree, vibrant with leaves, promises nourishment. But as Jesus draws near, he finds only branches, no fruit. The Gospel of Mark notes, almost as an aside, that it was not the season for figs, making the tree's barrenness unremarkable. Yet Jesus acts. With a voice both calm and resolute, he speaks to the tree. May no one ever eat fruit from you again. The words hang in the air, simple yet heavy, their weight felt by the disciples who hear them. The moment passes quietly, the group continuing toward Jerusalem, the scent of dust and greenery lingering. The next morning, as they pass the same tree, the disciples stop, their breath catching. The fig tree, once vibrant, is withered from its roots, its leaves drooping, its life drained. Peter, his voice tinged with awe, says, "Rabbi, look. The fig tree you cursed has withered." This incident, recorded in Mark 11:12-14 and Matthew 21:18-22, is startling in its brevity and intensity. Jesus, known for healing and compassion, seems to act out of character, cursing a tree for lacking fruit out of season. Yet, the act is deliberate, a symbolic gesture tied to the spiritual state of Israel. The disciples, puzzled, receive a lesson on faith and prayer. But the deeper meaning lies in the tree itself, mirror of a people rich in outward devotion, but lacking the fruit of true righteousness. The symbolism of the fig tree is one of the Bible's most enigmatic acts, its meaning layered with symbolism. Imagine standing in a modern orchard in Israel, the air warm with the scent of ripening figs, the ground littered with ancient stones. Archaeological digs reveal the importance of figs in ancient Judea pottery, shards painted with their image, remnants of dried fruit in storage jars. The fig tree was more than a source of food. It was a cultural emblem, its fruit a symbol of prosperity and peace, its barrenness a sign of divine displeasure. In the Old Testament, the fig tree often represents Israel itself. Prophets like Jeremiah and Hosea used its imagery to speak of the nation's faithfulness or lack thereof. A tree heavy with leaves, but devoid of fruit, mirrors a people who display piety but fail to live it out. Jesus' act, then, is not a moment of frustration, but a prophetic sign enacted in the final days of his ministry. The temple, with its bustling rituals, is like the fig tree, outwardly vibrant, yet spiritually barren. Its leaders more concerned with power than justice. Scholars debate the timing why curse a tree out of season. Some see it as a deliberate paradox, highlighting the urgency of spiritual readiness. Others connect it to Jesus' cleansing of the temple, a rebuke of corruption in the heart of worship. Culturally, the act would have stunned onlookers, for to curse a tree was to invoke divine judgment, a rare and weighty gesture. The rhythm of this moment, both quiet and dramatic, invites reflection on what it means to bear fruit in faith, a question that echoes across time. The divide of teacher and crowd. Now, shift your gaze to the broader world of Judea, where the elite and the common move in different rhythms. Imagine the temple priests, their robes adorned with gold thread, their days spent overseeing sacrifices, the air thick with the scent of burning offerings. They are the guardians of tradition, their authority rooted in the law and the temple's grandeur. Jesus, a teacher from Galilee, challenges their world. His simple cloak and direct words, a contrast to their opulence. His act with the fig tree, though small, is a critique of their leadership, a call to look beyond ritual to the heart of faith. Contrast this with the daily life of the common people. Picture a farmer tending his fig trees, his hands stained with sap, the air warm with the scent of earth and fruit. His life is one of labor, his hopes tied to the harvest that sustains his family. The pilgrims crowding Jerusalem for Passover, their baskets heavy with offerings. Share this rhythm, their faith expressed in the journey to the temple. For them, Jesus' teachings are a lifeline. His parables speaking to their struggles, hunger, taxes, and the weight of Roman rule. The fig tree's withering resonates differently across these worlds. For the elite, it is a warning, a shadow cast over their authority. For the common folk, it is a call to authenticity, a reminder that true faith bears fruit in acts of love and justice. Jesus, walking the dusty roads, bridges these divides, his actions speaking to both the powerful and the powerless. The rhythm of their lives, though varied, is drawn together by his presence. A teacher who challenges the status quo with a single, silent curse. The second death after hell. The final judgment that no soul escapes. Imagine this you. Find yourself standing on the edge of an endless, barren plain. The sky is a canvas of blood-red clouds swirling above, and the heavy stench of sulfur clings to the air like a curse. In the distance, a flickering inferno rages, illuminating the cracked earth with an unholy glow. Time feels frozen, suspended in an eternal moment of reckoning. This is not some fantasy or ancient myth. This terrifying vision comes straight from the book of Revelation, the Bible's most mysterious and apocalyptic prophecy about the end times. Here, Scripture unveils a final, chilling destination, the lake of fire. It is not simply hell. This goes beyond hell. It is the second death, the ultimate and irreversible separation from God's presence, where mercy no longer reaches, where the souls of the condemned face the eternal consequence of rejecting the truth. The second death is not symbolic, it's literal, eternal, and final. The Bible warns us that this is the fate of those whose names are not found in the book of life, those who defy the call of salvation. Revelation 20:14 declares, "Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire." This is the second death, the lake of fire. Unlike hell, which is temporary a holding place for the unrighteous dead, the lake of fire is the final judgment. It is the eternal prison for Satan, the beast, false prophets, and all who rebelled against God's authority. No escape, no second chance, no appeal. In a world obsessed with comfort and distractions, this ancient truth strikes like thunder in a silent room. It reminds us that eternity is not a philosophical theory at S. Reality waiting beyond the veil of this life. So, reflect, ask yourself, where will your soul stand when the final book is opened? The second death, ISNT, just a theological term, S, the most urgent warning ever spoken to mankind. And for those who listen, it's also the invitation of a lifetime to choose life, to choose salvation before it's too late. The world of early Christian hope. Picture the world of the early Christians. Around 90 CE, in the Roman province of Asia Minor, the air is warm with the scent of olive oil lamps and freshly baked bread. The streets of cities, like Ephesus, alive with the chatter of merchants and the clink of coins. For believers, life is a constant struggle under Roman rule. Their faith, a quiet defiance against persecution. They gather in hidden rooms, their voices hushed as they share letters from apostles like John, the author of Revelation. The scent of parchment and wax seals lingers as they read visions of hope and judgment. Their hearts anchored by the promise of God's ultimate victory. Daily life for these Christians is marked by tension. A fisherman mends his nets by the sea, his hands rough, his eyes wary of Roman soldiers. A seamstress stitches cloth in a cramped home, her prayers whispered over the hum of the loom. Their faith is not just personal, but communal. Their gatherings, a rhythm of encouragement amidst trials. The book of Revelation, with its vivid imagery, speaks to their reality oppression, martyrdom, and the hope of divine justice. The second death is a distant yet sobering concept, a reminder that their struggles are part of a larger cosmic story. In this world, the idea of judgment is familiar. Roman courts mete out punishment, and Jewish tradition speaks of God's justice. But Revelation's vision of the lake of fire introduces a new intensity, a final reckoning that transcends earthly courts. The early Christians, living in the shadow of empire, find in these words both warning and assurance, a rhythm that steadies their faith in a world of uncertainty. The vision of the lake of fire. Now, let yourself stand with John, the seer of Revelation, on the island of Patmos. The air salty with the scent of the sea. Exiled for his faith, John receives a vision from God, his eyes fixed on a scene of cosmic proportions. The air hums with divine presence as he sees the end of time unfold a great white throne, the books of deeds opened, and the book of life revealed. The rhythm of history, great and small, stand before the throne, their lives weighed in the balance of divine justice. In this vision, recorded in Revelation 19-20, the forces of evil face their end. The beast and the false prophet, deceivers of nations, cast alive into a lake of burning sulfur, its glow casting an eerie light. The air is thick with the scent of fire, a symbol of complete and final judgment. Later, after 1,000 years, Satan himself is released, only to deceive the nations once more. His rebellion is swift and futile, his fate sealed as he, too, is thrown into the lake of fire. Joining the beast and the false prophet. The text is vivid, yet restrained. They will be tormented day and night, forever and ever. The vision culminates in a final act of judgment. Death and Hades, personified as powers that hold humanity captive, are cast into the lake, their dominion ended. Those whose names are not found in the book of life described as the cowardly, unbelieving, detestable, murderers, sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and liars face the same fate. This is the second death, a term that echoes with finality, a place where rebellion against God meets its ultimate consequence. The rhythm of John's vision is one of closure, a solemn assurance that evil will not prevail. The meaning of the second death. The concept of the second death is one of the Bible's most sobering mysteries. Its imagery both vivid and elusive. Imagine standing in a modern archaeological site in Turkey near ancient Ephesus, where fragments of early Christian texts have been found, papyrus scraps, their ink faded, carrying echoes of Revelation's words. No artifact depicts the lake of fire, but its cultural resonance is profound. In the first century world, fire was a symbol of purification and destruction, used in sacrifices and executions. The lake of fire, with its burning sulfur, draws on this imagery, evoking a place of ultimate separation from God. Scholars debate the second death's nature. Is it literal, a physical place of tormentor, symbolic, representing the eternal absence of God's presence. Jewish apocalyptic literature, like the Book of Enoch, speaks of judgment in fiery terms, a tradition Revelation builds upon. For early Christians, the second death was a warning to remain faithful amidst persecution, a reminder that their choices carried eternal weight. The Book of Life, a divine ledger, underscores God's sovereignty, its pages a record of those who belong to Him. Culturally, the second death contrasted with Roman ideas of the afterlife, where shades wandered in a shadowy underworld. For Christians, it was a clear verdict. Faithfulness led to life, rebellion to final judgment. The lake of fire, though grim, was not the focus. The hope of the Book of Life was. The rhythm of this belief sustained believers, their lives, a testimony to a God who would one day set all things right. The divide of faith and empire now. Shift your gaze to the world of the early Christians, where the elite and the common lived in stark contrast. Imagine a Roman official, his toga crisp, his villa filled with the scent of wine and roses. His life is one of power, his allegiance to the emperor, a shield against the chaos of rebellion. The Christian message, with its talk of a higher king and a final judgment. Contrast this with the daily life of the common believer. Picture a laborer in Ephesus, his hands calloused from hauling stone, his nights spent in a cramped home lit by a single lamp. His faith is a quiet act of defiance, his prayers whispered in secret gatherings. The vision of the second death, though distant, gives meaning to his suffering, a promise that the empire's oppression will not have the final word. The Book of Life, where his name is written, is his hope, a rhythm that carries him through persecution. The elite Roman governors, Jewish priests scoff at such visions, their power rooted in the present. But for the common Christian, the second death is a call to endurance, a reminder that their faithfulness matters. John's vision, shared in letters read aloud in hidden rooms, binds them together, their lives a testament to a God who judges justly. The rhythm of their faith, though tested, holds firm, a quiet defiance against a world that will one day face its end. Melchizedek, the eternal priest-king who defied time and history's soft, ambient music, begins subtle echoes of ancient flutes, the clinking of ceramic vessels, and the distant crackle of fire. The air feels heavy with mystery, as if the desert itself is holding its breath. Step back in time, far back to an age where history blurs into legend. Picture yourself in a sun-drenched valley in ancient Canaan around 2000 BCE. The earth is raw, primal and unshaped, the sky above endless and unpolluted. You inhale the dry scent of sand, sagebrush, and distant fires, and in a quiet murmur of nomadic life, a presence emerges, enigmatic, regal, and inexplicably sacred. This is Melchizedek, the priest of the highest God and king of ancient Salem. His name means king of righteousness, but his origins unknown, his lineage untraceable, his end never recorded. He appears for just a heartbeat in the story of Abraham, blessing the patriarch in the name of El Elyon. Yet that brief moment reverberates across millennia. Who was he? A prophet, an angel, a pre-incarnate Christ. Melchizedek stands alone in Scripture, a timeless priest without beginning or end. He is the shadow between testaments, the whisper before thunder, a divine mystery that still stirs hearts and souls today. Join us as we unveil the secrets of this immortal figure, Melchizedek, whose ancient footsteps still echo in the corridors of eternity. The world of Abraham's Canaan. Picture the land of Canaan, a patchwork of city-states and nomadic tribes, where life moves to the rhythm of the seasons and the paths of trade. The air carries the scent of roasted grain and the faint smoke of campfires. As herders guide their flocks across rocky hills, their staffs tapping a steady beat. Tents of woven goat hair, the landscape, their interiors filled with the aroma of olive oil and freshly baked bread. Families gather around low tables, sharing meals of lentils and flatbread, their voices weaving stories of ancestors and gods. For Abraham, a patriarch called by God, life is one of constant movement. His household is a small community servant tending flocks, women grinding grain, children playing in the shade of acacia trees. The scent of wool and milk lingers, a reminder of the wealth and responsibility he carries. Trade routes crisscross the land, bringing merchants with spices and textiles, their camels kicking up dust as they pass. In this world, hospitality is sacred, a rhythm that binds strangers and kin alike. Religion, too, shapes daily life. Canaan's people worship a multitude of gods, their altars adorned with offerings of wine and grain. Abraham, however, follows a single God, his faith a quiet rebellion against the idols of the land. His encounters with the divine promises of land and descendants set him apart. His life a journey of trust amidst uncertainty. Into this world steps Melchizedek, a figure who bridges the earthly and the sacred. His presence a fleeting but profound note in the rhythm of Abraham's story. Melchizedek's encounter with Abraham now. Let yourself walk with Abraham as he returns from a daring victory. He has just rescued his nephew Lot, captured in a battle between warring kings. The air is heavy with a scent of sweat and dust, the clatter of weapons still echoing in his ears. His men, weary but triumphant, follow him through the valley of Shava. Their footsteps, a steady rhythm against the earth. It is here, in this moment of triumph, that Melchizedek appears, as recorded in Genesis 14. Imagine the scene. Melchizedek, scribed as the king of Salem and priest of God, steps forward, his robes simple yet regal, his presence commanding. He carries no spoils of war, only bread and wine, simple offerings that speak of sustenance and fellowship. The air is warm, the scent of fresh bread mingling with the tang of wine as he blesses Abraham. Blessed be Abram by God Most High, Creator of heaven and earth. His words are a melody of divine affirmation, acknowledging Abraham's victory and faith. In response, Abraham gives him a tenth of the spoils, a tithe that recognizes Melchizedek's spiritual authority. The encounter is brief, almost dreamlike. Melchizedek offers no genealogy, no explanation of his origins. He appears, blesses, and vanishes from the narrative, leaving only his name, King of Righteousness, and his dual role as priest and king. Centuries later, the book of Hebrews revisits him, describing him as without father or mother, without genealogy, without beginning of days or end of life. Resembling the Son of God, he remains a priest forever. This enigmatic portrayal elevates Melchizedek beyond a mere historical figure, casting him as a type of Christ, his priesthood eternal. The enigma of Melchizedek. The figure of Melchizedek is one of Scripture's great mysteries. His brevity in the text matched by the depth of his impact. Imagine standing in an archaeological dig in modern Jerusalem, once thought to be ancient Salem, sifting through fragments of pottery and stone. No inscription names Melchizedek, no artifact confirms his existence, yet his story resonates. The lack of genealogy in Genesis is striking in a culture obsessed with lineage, where ancestry defined status. Was Melchizedek a historical king, a priest of a pre-Israelite cult, or a symbolic figure crafted to point to a greater truth? Scholars offer varied interpretations. Some see him as a Canaanite priest-king who worshipped the same God as Abraham, his bread and wine, a precursor to later sacramental practices. Others view him as a literary device, his lack of origins a deliberate choice to mirror the eternal priesthood of Christ. The book of Hebrews, written to early Christians, uses Melchizedek to argue for Jesus' superior priesthood, unbound by the Levitical order. His name, King of Righteousness, and title as King of Salem. Peace carries symbolic weight, suggesting a reign of justice and harmony. Culturally, Melchizedek's role reflects the ancient Near East's blending of kingship and priesthood. In cities like Hoyaret, rulers often served as mediators between gods and people. Their altars filled with the scent of incense and grain. Abraham's tithe to Melchizedek suggests a recognition of shared faith, a moment of unity in a divided world. The rhythm of this encounter, brief yet profound, underscores a truth. God's presence moves through unexpected figures, weaving the sacred into the fabric of human history. Abraham and the common Canaanite. Now shift your gaze to the broader world of Canaan, where the elite and the common live in distinct rhythms. Imagine a local king in a fortified city, his palace adorned with carved stone, the air heavy with the scent of myrrh and roasted meat. His life is one of power, his decisions shaping trade and war. Melchizedek, as king of Salem, inhabits this elite sphere, his priesthood setting him apart even among rulers. His encounter with Abraham, a nomadic leader, bridges to world city and wilderness, king and patriarch. Contrast this with the daily life of the common Canaanite. Picture a herder tending goats under the shade of an oak, the air warm with the scent of wool and earth. His days are spent guiding flocks, his nights filled with stories told by firelight. His worship is local, tied to altars of stone and clay, his offerings simple grain, wine, a lamb. Abraham, though a leader, shares this rhythm, his tent a hub of hospitality, his faith a quiet contrast to the idols of the land. Melchizedek's appearance is a moment of divine alignment, his bread and wine a shared language of sustenance and blessing. The elite, like Melchizedek, wield authority, their lives cushioned by wealth and ritual. The common folk, like Abraham's servants, live closer to the earth, their faith expressed in the daily tasks of survival. Yet, Melchizedek's blessing unites them, a reminder that God's call transcends status. The rhythm of their lives, whether in palace or tent, pulses with the possibility of divine encounter, a fleeting moment that echoes through generations. The wheels full of eyes, Ezekiel's divine encounter that shook the heavens, stepped back in time to the scorching sands of ancient Babylon. Around 593 BCE, the air hums with tension, heavy with the scent of damp earth and river reeds along the banks of the Kebar River. You are among the Jewish exiles, weary and broken, torn from Jerusalem, struggling to survive in a strange, godless land. Hope feels distant, until a prophet steps forward, burning with visions from realms unseen. His name is Ezekiel. Once a priest, now a mouthpiece of the highest. And what he sees in this moment will defy reason, explode imaginations, and echo through eternity. Wheels within wheels. Not ordinary wheels, but radiant, rotating structures covered in countless ice living, watching, knowing. These celestial wheels move in perfect harmony with the fiery beings known as cherubim. Their motion guided by the Spirit of God. Wherever the Spirit moves, the wheels follow without hesitation. They do not turn as they move. They glide, they burn, they see all. This is not just a vision, it is a supernatural invasion of glory. Flames whirl in the sky. A storm cloud flashes with lightning. A great throne appears above the expanse, and above it a radiant figure with the appearance of glowing metal and fire. Ezekiel falls on his face. He has seen the glory of the Lord. This moment, described in Ezekiel chapter 1, is one of the most bizarre and awe-inspiring visions in all of Scripture. Scholars, mystics, and modern seekers alike have tried to decode its meaning. Were the wheels angels, portals, celestial technology? Or were they something even deeper, symbols of divine omniscience and cosmic order? The eyes that cover the wheels symbolize unending awareness. Nothing is hidden from the Creator. The wheels within wheels reflect a mystical complexity, a divine intelligence operating far beyond human comprehension. It is both terrifying and beautiful, alien yet sacred. As you gaze into Ezekiel's vision, ask yourself, what do these eyes see? What do the wheels know? In this whirlwind of fire and eyes, we're offered not just a spectacle, but a message. God is still watching, still moving, still speaking, even in exile, even in chaos, even in the storm. Join us as we unravel this prophetic mystery, a heavenly chariot of glory that shattered the skies of Babylon and opened a portal into eternity. The exile's world in Babylon. Picture the life of the Jewish exiles in Babylon. Their tents and mud brick homes clustered along the Kebar River. The air carries the scent of baked clay and simmering lentils, the sound of children's voices mingling with the low hum of prayers. These are a people uprooted, their temple in Jerusalem destroyed, their lives reshaped by captivity. Their days are filled with labor tending crops, weaving cloth, or serving Babylonian masters, their hands worn from work, their hearts heavy with longing for home. The rhythm of their lives is one of resilience, a quiet faith sustained by memories of Zion. Ezekiel, a priest among them, shares their exile but carries a unique calling. Imagine him walking through the settlement, his robes simple, his face etched with a weight of divine messages. His days are spent teaching, praying, and mourning the loss of the temple where the scent of incense and sacrifice once filled the air. The exiles look to him, their priest, for hope. Their gatherings, a flicker of light in the shadow of captivity. The Kebar River, its waters glinting under the sun. becomes the backdrop for a vision that will redefine their understanding of God's presence, a rhythm that transcends their earthly constraints. Daily life in Babylon is a blend of survival and worship. Women knead dew by the riverbank. The aroma of bread, a small comfort, while men labor in fields or workshops, the clink of tools, a steady beat. The Babylonians around them worship gods of stone and gold, their ziggurats towering over the landscape. But the exiles cling to their covenant, their prayers a quiet rebellion. Ezekiel's vision, when it comes, is a divine interruption, a reminder that God's glory is not bound by place or circumstance. Ezekiel's vision of the wheels. Now let yourself stand with Ezekiel by the Kheber River. The air charged with the scent of an approaching storm. A whirlwind rises in the north, an immense cloud flashing with fire, its light piercing the dusk. From within this tempest, recorded in Ezekiel 1 and 10, emerges a vision of divine majesty. 4 living creatures appear, each with the form of a man, yet bearing 4 faces: human, lion, ox, and eagle. Their wings, 2 touching and 2 covering their bodies, shimmer like polished bronze, the air alive with the sound of their movement, like rushing waters or a mighty army. Beside each creature is a wheel, intricate and astonishing, a wheel within a wheel, as if gyroscopic spheres capable of moving in any direction without turning. Their rims gleam, and they are covered with eyes, countless and unblinking, a symbol of divine omniscience. The air hums with their motion, the scent of ozone mingling with the river's dampness. Above the creatures, a throne of sapphire glows, and upon it sits a figure like a man, radiant with fire and light, the likeness of God's glory. Ezekiel falls to his face, overwhelmed, the ground cool beneath him, as the vision burns into his soul. This moment, one of the most intricate in Scripture, is not just a spectacle, but a revelation. The wheels, moving in unison with the creatures, speak of God's transcendent mobility, His presence unbound by the temple's ruin. The eyes signify His all-seeing nature, a comfort to exiles far from home. Ezekiel, called to prophesy, carries this vision to his people, its rhythm a divine assurance. God is with them. Even in captivity, His glory, a constant presence amidst their struggle. The wheels and their meaning, the wheels covered in eyes, are among the Bible's most vivid and enigmatic images, their mystery enduring across centuries. Imagine standing in a modern archaeological site in Iraq, near ancient Babylon, sifting through clay tablets and temple ruins, the air thick with a scent of dust. No artifact depicts Ezekiel's wheels, yet their imagery resonates with the ancient Near East's fascination with divine visions. Babylonian art often portrayed gods on thrones, flanked by winged beings. their temples filled with the scent of incense and sacrifice. Ezekiel's vision, however, reimagines this, centering on the God of Israel, whose glory surpasses all others. Scholars puzzle over the wheel's design. The wheel within a wheel suggests a complex structure, perhaps a chariot or a symbol of divine movement. The eyes, covering the rims, evoke God's omniscience, a theme echoed in later Jewish texts like the Book of Enoch, where angelic beings are described with similar intensity. Culturally, the vision spoke to exiles who felt abandoned, assuring them that God's gaze never left them. The rhythm of this imagery dynamic, yet ordered, reflects a God who is both transcendent and near, his presence a constant in a world of upheaval. Archaeologically, the Keba River's exact location is debated. Possibly a canal near Nippur, but its role as the setting for Ezekiel's vision underscores its significance. The exiles, surrounded by Babylonian idols, found in this vision a counterpoint. Their God was not confined to a fallen temple, but moved freely, his glory a whirlwind of fire and eyes. The cultural impact of this vision shaped Jewish and Christian mysticism, its imagery inspiring on reflection for generations. The exiles and their Babylonian masters. Now, shift your gaze to the broader world of Babylonian exile, where the elite and the common live in stark contrast. Imagine a Babylonian overseer, his robes adorned with gold, his home filled with the scent of spiced wine and myrrh. His life is one of authority, his days spent managing the empire's wealth, his allegiance to gods like Marduk, a source of pride. The Jewish exiles, like Ezekiel, are subject to his rule. Their priestly status diminished in a land of foreign gods. Contrast this with the daily life of the common exile. Picture a weaver at her loom, her hands deftly threading wool, the air warm with the scent of river mud. Her days are spent laboring for survival, her nights filled with prayers for return to Jerusalem. Ezekiel's vision, shared in gatherings by the river, is a lifeline, its wheels and eyes a promise that God sees their plight. The rhythm of their lives, though marked by captivity, is sustained by hope, their faith a quiet defiance against their master's power. The elite Babylonian officials, and even some assimilated Jews, view the exiles' faith with indifference or scorn. But for the common folk, Ezekiel's vision is a rallying cry, a reminder that their God is not bound by chains or borders. The wheels covered in eyes, moving freely, mirror their longing for freedom, their trust in a God who watches and waits. The rhythm of this vision binds them, a shared hope that carries them through the constant struggle of exile. Unveiling Leviathan, Behemoth, and Re-im, the most mysterious creatures of the Bible. You were never taught about. Step into a forgotten world, one steeped in divine mystery, where ancient forces once roamed the earth. Picture yourself at the edge of a primordial wilderness, the air thick with salt and soil. The skies stretched wide over turbulent oceans and shadowy forests untouched by man. This is no fantasies, the realm described in the Bible, where creation was fierce, wild, and ruled by beings unlike anything we know today. Among these awe-inspiring entities are three of the most enigmatic and powerful creatures in all of Scripture: Leviathan, Behemoth, and Riem. These are not your average animals. They are divine beasts, mystical symbols of raw power, cosmic order, and God's unmatched sovereignty. Leviathan, the sea serpent that laughs at spears. Behemoth, the untamable land beast whose strength defies logic. And Riem, a colossal horned creature often equated with the mythical unicorn, charging through the annals of ancient texts with holy fury. These beings don't merely inhabit the physical world, they bridge the natural and the supernatural, embodying forces that go beyond science and comprehension. Why did God create such creatures? What do they represent? And why are they almost never mentioned in Sunday sermons? Join us as we uncover the biblical bestiary that modern religion has forgotten, but the ancients feared and revered. The stories of Leviathan, Behemoth, and Riem are more than poetic metaphors. They are encoded truths, waiting to be rediscovered by those bold enough to seek them. Prepare yourself to journey through the pages of Scripture like never before, where myth meets theology, and where these titanic beings roar with divine purpose. This isn't just ancient history. This is spiritual reality leashed. The world of Job's wilderness. Picture the world of the book of Job, set in an ancient, perhaps pre-patriarchal time, in a land like Uz, where life is shaped by the rhythms of the earth. The air carries the scent of sun-warmed grass and the faint musk of grazing herds. Shepherds and farmers live close to the land, their days spent tending flocks or coaxing crops from stubborn soil. The clink of clay jars and the bleating of goats filled the air. A steady pulse of survival in a world where nature is both provider and threat. Families gather under starlit skies, sharing stories of creation and divine power. Their lives a constant dance with the elements. In this world, the wilderness is never far. Beyond the fields lie vast expanses, rivers teeming with life, forests where beasts roam, and seas that whisper of mysteries beneath. The people know the power of nature. A storm can destroy crops. A predator can scatter flocks. Their faith, rooted in a God who commands creation, finds expression in tales of mighty creatures each a reflection of his majesty. The scent of roasted grain and the glow of oil lamps accompany their evenings. As elders recount the wonders of Leviathan, Behemoth, and Riem, creatures that embody the untamed strength of the world God made, daily life is a blend of labor and awe. A herder, his staff worn smooth, watches his goats with one eye on the horizon, wary of what lurks beyond. A mother weaves cloth, her hands moving rhythmically, her stories of divine creatures, a way to teach her children reverence. In this world, the line between the ordinary and the mythic is thin, and the creatures described in Scripture are not distant legends, but reminders of a God whose power surpasses all. God's description of Leviathan, Behemoth, and Riem. Now let yourself stand with Job, a man broken by suffering, his life a tapestry of loss and faith. The air is heavy with the scent of ash and despair, as Job, once wealthy, now sits in the dust. His body weary, his heart wrestling with God's justice. In Job 38-41, God speaks from a whirlwind, his voice a thunder that shakes the soul. To humble Job and reveal his sovereignty, God describes creatures of unparalleled might, beginning with Behemoth. Behold, Behemoth, which I made as I made you, God says, his words painting a creature of immense strength. Imagine Behemoth. Its muscles ripple like cords of iron, its tail sways like a cedar tree, its bones are bars of bronze. It feeds on grass like an ox, yet its power is unmatched, resting in the shade of lotus trees by the river. The air thick with the scent of reeds. This is no ordinary beast, but a masterpiece, its presence a testament to God's dominion over the earth. Next, God turns to Leviathan, a creature of the sea, its scales like shields, its breath a spark of fire. Picture it gliding through the deep, its wake a luminous trail, the air above tinged with the scent of salt and smoke. No weapon can pierce it. God declares its heart as hard as a millstone, its strength a terror to all. Leviathan is not just a sea creature, but a symbol of chaos, tamed, might subject only to God. The Psalms speak of God playing with Leviathan in the waters, while Isaiah envisions its defeat as a sign of divine triumph. Finally, the Riem mentioned in Job 39 and elsewhere strides into view, wild ox of ferocious power, its horns a symbol of untamed strength. Older translations call it a unicorn, sparking curiosity, but scholars now identify it as a nausive form, a marvel of the ancient world. God asks Job, "Will the Riem serve you? Can you bind it?" The answer is clear. Only God commands such a creature, its might a reflection of his own. These descriptions, vivid and poetic, are not mere stories, but a divine response to Job's pain. A reminder that the Creator's power surpasses human understanding. The rhythm of God's words, steady and majestic, anchors Job's faith, pointing him to a world where even the wildest creatures bow to their Maker. The mythic and the real, the creatures Leviathan, Behemoth, and Riem are among Scripture's most enigmatic, their forms blending the real and the mythic. Imagine standing in a modern museum, gazing at fossilized bones of ancient creatures, massive aurochs, perhaps, or crocodiles that might echo Leviathan's terror. The air carries the scent of dust and preservation, but no artifact fully captures these beings. Archaeologically, Behemoth and Leviathan resist precise identification. Some link Behemoth to the hippopotamus or elephant, its strength exaggerated for effect, while Leviathan may evoke crocodiles or whales, its fiery breath a poetic flourish. The Riem, likely an aurochs, was a real creature. Its bones found in ancient sites, yet its biblical portrayal elevates it to mythic status. Culturally, these creatures resonate with the ancient Near East's fascination with powerful beasts. Mesopotamian myths speak of sea monsters like Tiamat, symbols of chaos defeated by gods. Israel's faith reimagines this. Leviathan and Behemoth are not enemies, but creations. Their strength, a testament to God's sovereignty. The Psalms and Isaiah weave them into worship, their images evoking. For Job's audience, these creatures were not distant, but part of their world. Their roars and tracks a reminder of the divine power that shaped the earth. The mystery lies in their purpose. Why describe such beings to a suffering man? Scholars suggest they serve to humble Job, showing him a creation too vast for human control. They also affirm God's delight in his world, from the playful Leviathan to the mighty Riem. The rhythm of these descriptions, both poetic and purposeful, invites reflection on a God who creates and commands, his presence woven into the wild heart of nature. The divide of wonder and work now. Shift your gaze to the world of Job's time, where the elite and the common live in distinct rhythms. Imagine a tribal leader, his tent adorned with woven rugs, the air heavy with the scent of spiced wine. His life is one of authority, his wealth measured in flocks and land. The stories of Leviathan, Behemoth, and Riem, told by elders, affirm his status, their grandeur mirroring his own. Yet even he bows before a God who commands such creatures, his power dwarfed by the divine. Contrast this with the daily life of the common herder or farmer. Picture a man guiding his oxen through fields, the air warm with the scent of earth and sweat. His days are spent plowing, his nights filled with tales of creation's wonders. The Reim, with its untamed strength, is a distant dream, its might a contrast to his own labor. Leviathan and Behemoth, though unseen, fuel his awe. Their stories a reminder that the God who protects his crops also rules the wild. For him, these creatures are not just symbols, but a call to trust their power, a reflection of the God who sustains his life. The elite may ponder these creatures in philosophical terms, their wealth allowing time for reflection. The common folk, however, weave them into their faith, their labor a constant struggle met by stories of divine might. The rhythm of their lives, whether in tents of wealth or humble huts, is united by these creatures, each a testament to a God whose power transcends all human divides. Step into the mystical. As the ancient stars rise, so does the truth hidden in the Bible's strangest stories. As twilight deepens and the first ancient stars pierce the night sky, picture yourself once again beside a crackling fire-its glow dancing across your face, casting flickering shadows that feel older than time itself. The cool evening air carries a haunting fragrance, one that smells of ancient earth, forgotten faith and memories buried deep within your soul. You've just traveled through some of the most mysterious, shocking, and sacred passages of the Bible chapters that many avoid. Few discuss, but all are drawn to with irresistible curiosity. From holy stones that murmured the will of God, to celestial beings cloaked in flame, and creatures that roar with power not of this world. The scriptures have unveiled a universe far more divine than we dare to imagine. Every tale we've explored isn't just a story. They are threads in a vast spiritual tapestry, each one infused with mystery, wonder, prophecy, and supernatural power. These threads connect prophets and kings, angels and beasts, deserts and temples. They pulse with a divine rhythm that still echoes through the sands of Israel. The winds of Sinai and the ruined gates of ancient cities now lost to time. And now, as the fire dwindles to glowing embers and the stars shimmer like heaven's own language, we pause not to end the journey, but to absorb the revelation. This is the moment of quiet awe, where reflection meets revelation, and your soul begins to process what your mind cannot explain. You haven't just read stories, you've walked through portals of divine mystery. So, let this silence settle in. Let the shadows stretch and the heavens open, because the Bible's strangest, most hidden truths have found you, and nothing will ever be the same again. These tales of Urim and Thummim, a talking donkey, cryptic handwriting, and enigmatic beings like Melchizedek, a world where the divine was not distant, but woven into the fabric of daily life. The shepherd tending his flock, the exile by the river. The pilgrim in Jerusalem's courts lived in a constant dance with the sacred, their struggles and hopes shaped by a God who spoke through stones, visions, and even the dust of the earth. These stories, though strange to our modern ears, were anchors for them, reminders that the rhythm of their lives was guided by a presence greater than themselves. Consider the contrast with your own world. Where they faced wilderness and war, you rest in the comfort of the present, the air perhaps filled with the soft hum of modern life. Yet, like them, you seek meaning in the mysteries, a rhythm that steadies your steps. The Bible's strangest passages invite you to pause, to wonder, to let your mind drift toward the eternal. They remind us that faith is not always clear, but is found in the quiet moments, in the unexpected, in the spaces where human understanding meets divine mystery. As you settle into the night, let these stories linger, their images fading like a dream. Picture the wheels covered in eyes, turning in the glow of divine glory, or the gentle bleating of a goat, spared by a law rooted in compassion. These are not just tales of the past, but whispers of a truth that endures, a God who sees, speaks, and sustains. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the rhythm of these ancient words carry you toward rest, knowing that the mysteries of faith are a bridge between then and now, guiding you gently into sleep.